Honestly, man, where do I begin? Mm. How do I even start the conversation? Okay. All right. This is what's how people say what's on my mind. I want to kind of change that. This is what's in my mind. No, 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 no. In fact, it's not even in my mind. Give me a second. Let me explain. Your thoughts, your ideas, your perceptions, your concepts, all of those things are not literally in your mind. It's interesting because when I really sit back and I think, right? Think means it's just an exercise of thought, right? It's uncertainty there. That's why I don't like intellectual people who use the word think a lot, right? If they're uncertain, they should just be honest and say, I'm uncertain, right? When they use the word I think, because it'll give better context to realism versus perception that you know the hell you're talking about when you really don't. So, what what I've learned just from observation of people, places, things, what we call reality, is that thought is like imaginary, right? It doesn't even really exist until you actually pull it from the dimension that it's in, and then you like what we consider to manifest that thought, right? So like, I gotta catch myself, like, because that's programming, like in my mind, but it's not really in my mind, but it's in the ether, right? Let's say that it's in the ether, and I'm grabbing it, you know, uh, out of nowhere, right? It's like a nowhere place. It's like a vast place that doesn't even exist, but it does exist, right? So this is like where it gets like super confusion and like highly intellectual. We have to kind of like really process what I'm saying, because to really understand what I'm saying is to know that the reality in which we exist in, like this physical reality, there's also a reality where there's nothing physical, right? And that's like with a thought in the infinite space of what we call blackness, nothingness, right? And it's a place that I stay often, because that's a interesting place, right? To be able to say, hey, like came out of nothing, right? Because in the reality of nothing or darkness, like, let me give you an example of what I'm saying so I don't lose you, but I want you to stay with me. Like, when you close your eyes, if I ask everybody, I said, just close your eyes, what do you see? Most people say nothing. And that's interesting because what is nothing, right? Like, you can see nothing, right? Or is it a substance that we identify as nothing, like this vast place of darkness or emptiness where there's nothing? Like, there's no hurt, there's no pain, there's no perception, there's no laughter, there's no, right? Unless we give context to that reality, or we bring our physical experiences into that reality. And then what's interesting is we can actually bring what we experience physically into that reality of nothing. Like, we like just sit there and ramble in our minds, or the mind itself. Let me just say the mind itself, because it's only one mind, right? It's not a super duper collective amount of minds. It's like one mind that we all are in, or not even in, but are, right? Not in, but we are. We are the mind, right? Everything that you see is the mind, right? And the mind is very interesting because it's really kind of like unexplainable, but we try to explain like what the mind is and like what is this reality that we don't really understand, but we give context to it and we let it brush over it. It's like, hey man, like where did that come from? Like my mind. Okay, like okay now, like where's the mind really at? Right? Like this is like why it's complicated to kind of like talk about it, because it's like, do other people think like this? I'm sure. I'm sure. Right? Because it's the mind. So we all have to be in some type of in syncness. Right? I'm not the only person that thinks like this. It's other people that really think like this, because other people are really me and I'm really them. And it's like these divisions of everything and everyone being everything and everyone. Right? Does that make sense? Like, honestly, does it really make sense? Because it really does make sense when you sit back and really think about how everyone is everything and everything is everyone, because there's only one. Like, you ever heard the concept that there is only one God, there is only one, right? And there's an argument and debates and man, for years, eons, right? People are trying to explain, like, where did we come from? Like, how did we get here? And we can't really explain it, so we give it to something imaginary, right? We say, hey, out of our mind, there's a concept of something called God, that God created everything and everyone, and God is everywhere all the time. But that's very interesting, because that is a true statement when you really think about it, right? Now, we're not talking about this imaginary mystical thing. We're talking about something that's a real reality that we all experience and that we all are, right? That's why when you start to separate or you start to individualize things, like when you say I, right, it's like a selfish thing, right? It's not a selfless thing, right? It's like you give yourself credit for everything and you don't realize that you don't even exist, because you're an idea that you think exists, that really does exist, that's manifested to express itself in so many different aspects, right? So it's like, okay, let me give you the concept, right, or the perception of what I'm saying. So it's like, if I sit myself in a room, oh, damn. If I sit myself in a room, that's interesting. Anyway, if I sit in a room, right? Damn, I still have to say I. How do I explain what I'm trying to say? That's very, very interesting. That when you really understand the consciousness of I, and you understand that that really doesn't exist, but it does exist, and trying to explain things without using that is like impossible. But anyway, let's give context to what I'm saying. If I sit myself in a room with nothing and no one else, what does the mind start to do, right? It starts to imagine different realities, right? It starts to create like all different things, right? Whether it's like this fear, this suffering, this uncertainty, right? It's all over the place, right? Because it's pulling from the ether of everything and everyone, because everything and everyone is everything and everyone. Stay with me on this. Don't get lost. Don't get bored, because this is very interesting intellectual property here. So, what I want you to realize is that you are me and I am you, and I'm trying to figure out how to communicate that to you to be able to see me and you and me, and understand that that's why they say you can't judge. You can, the perception of the ideology of you thinking you can, but the reality is you can't, because you are everything and everyone is you, and everything is everyone. Whew, that's deep, man. Because you can say, "Hey, man, I'm not that. I'm not that. I'm not that." Right? You can look over there and see someone living a certain way, but that's not. I'm not that. But the reality is that like you are that. Like you are that. You're the idea, right? And the idea is everywhere and in everyone. Like, so yeah, you are that. You're that person that you think you're not, right? And that is the greatest trick that we've ever done. Like, it's like we've lost. It's like it's like the mind has lost itself inside the mind, because the mind it's that damn confusing, right? It's that damn confusing. It's that infinite and vast. That's that difficult to understand. So what you say you are not, you actually are, whether or not you want to accept that reality or not. That's just the facts, because the facts will show you that. Let me give you an example. This linkage, right? Link. You ever seen a chain? I'm sure you have, right? A chain on a bicycle, right? Like, if you took one link, that link couldn't do anything without adding another link, right? And whatever length of link of chain, right, to spin a bike, to keep the motion going. Like, think about, to keep the motion going, right? Energy is always in motion, so it's always going. So it's like a chain, and it's like a foot on a pedal that's turning to get to the next level, right? So it's like, okay, I got to keep going. And that downforce, that force of movement, right, is the mind constantly, right? And that's us collectively linked all over the world, like billions of people, right? Concepts and ideas, perceptions and ideologies, like it's all a chain link, and it's all together, and it's all moving, and it's all complicated, because the pieces that you pick up and the pieces that you get that you don't fully understand, that's still a part of the chain of everything and everyone, because you are everything and everyone is you kind of like start to identify as something different than you really are. The point that I'm making is, you're everything, and everything is you. And I know it's hard to see that, but that's the reality of what the mind is. The mind is that. And you are the mind. And it's easy to tell you that, because if you truly want to experience what you think someone else is, or someone else can experience, all you got to do is just go do it and experience it, right? It's like, I want to be a multi-millionaire, so I'm broke, so what do? I learn what multi-millionaires do, and then I become a multi-millionaire, right? Or I want to learn how to fish, but I don't know how to fish, so what do? I go to a part of the mind that understands how to fish, well, that in another individual that's not really another individual, but it's me. It's like all these separations, right, of me. That's God. That's like this ultimate thing of trying to understand itself. That's why yin and yang is so important, because the balance of the mind shows you the balance of reality. Like, it's always there. Like, it's like the idea, right? Let me give you this, right? Like, across the world, like, people always say when they make a statement, oh, it's like no one's perfect. Like, no one's perfect. But, like, really, dude, you're perfect. Like, honestly, there is no more perfection than the light and dark, right? The right and wrong, the yin and yang. There is no more perfect than that. That is a reality that is so perfect that we scramble it, and we send mixed messages in that reality of the mind that perfection doesn't exist, because it's like this ultimate thing that we all strive for, or we try to see or witness or experience, in the reality that we already experience it in every day. See, that doesn't make sense to you, because you haven't gotten to that point of understanding the self, right? Not yourself, but the self, right? The self is not an individual, right? So in my years of studying psychology and people in the mind, the self is service, elevation, love, frequency. SELF, right? It's a service, right? That means that we are constantly in service to one another, right? We're trying to help one another. We're trying to fix one another. We're trying to diagnose one another. So that service of ourselves, the mind itself, right? The linkage, right? Only keeps us elevating through those experiences that we see and witness every day that we either want to be or don't want to be, right? So we're elevating through the service of each other or itself, right? Which is God itself, the ultimate power of everything, which is perfection, right? And in that perfection, there's a love, because that love has to be there to equate all of the nonsense, because like it's the only ultimate power, right? To renew itself. Like, so it's like if I go through an experience that I hate, that I don't fully understand, that makes me suffer, I can only return to love to actually pull me out of that. So I gotta have that love, that ether, right? That ether energy of highly high consciousness, right? Overstanding or understanding, right? Right, whatever we want to call it. But we have to return to that, because that makes us continue to move. Like when you give up on love, you give up on everything, and everything starts to diminish. And that frequency is consistent across the board for everyone. That's why people say, I ain't fucking with love, but then they fuck with it again. Or I ain't messing with love, and then they find themselves interested in it again. Because when you give up completely on love, when you give up on the frequency, the flow, it's over. And that's all I wanted to say for the day. I know it's probably a lot, but that's all I wanted to say for today. My goal is to let you understand the linkage, right? That we're all connected, and how we're all connected, and that when you see things that you don't like, it's actually you. And you need to have grace, and you need to have mercy, and you need to have understanding, and you need to have no emotional attachment to it, because it's actually you. It's actually you. You need to make yourself suffer. Just, fully understand that. But that's the goal here on this channel, is to make you understand the linkage of what the self is, and to get rid of the concepts and the false perspectives of what we think it is. Like, I'm really going into the mind to bring context to the mind, because the mind has lost itself, and I'm seeing it clearly on how to try to orchestrate it back to itself. That's deep. Anyway, as they say, and as I say, and as you say, because it's you just haven't got there yet, but you will through this message. If you exercise supreme thought, supreme consciousness, you will become supreme being. It's in all of us. Peace.